Too on the nose? Or just enough? I have thought about making a video like this for a while. I imagined doing it during the daytime and not at 3 a.m. I imagined feeling good, uh, being in a good mood. I imagined not being tired, not being in any pain, and I imagined actually creating a bit of a backdrop for myself rather than just sitting on the floor next to my bookcase with a makeshift tripod out of a couple of storage bins and some books that I took off this shelf just a minute ago. And I imagined that I might even do something intentional with my appearance, do my hair or put on literally any makeup, potentially not wear my glasses so as to trick everyone into thinking that I'm actually way better sighted than I am, or putting on actual real clothing versus a baggy cardigan over a pajama shirt. But if 2020 has taught us anything, it is that there is no such thing as planning for anything, and you kind of just have to roll with the dumpster fire as it comes. One of the things that has become clear to me during the last 7 months of this pandemic is that my health, my mental and physical and emotional and spiritual well-being need serious attention. And I am currently in therapy and actively working on the mental health side of that equation. And therefore, the next thing I really need to be focusing on is the physical. To give you a little bit of background, there are some labels that I use for myself that I have not been championing as much as maybe I should have in the past several years of my life. Whatever your feelings about labels, they can be incredibly useful and validating for people. They are very descriptive. They are meant to give you information in a very small space of time. And a few of the labels that apply to me and that I own for my identity are disabled, a sufferer of chronic pain, someone who battles a chronic illness, just to name a few. And those are kind of hard pills to swallow. And I have been realizing that it's actually really important that I remind myself of my reality as well as remind the people in my circle of my reality, particularly during this quarantine. It's become clear that my health is to a point where I need some better answers and better solutions than what I've been doing for the last decade, honestly. And that a lot of people, even people who know me well, may not know the full extent to what I am dealing with. So, because of the nature of my disabilities and illnesses, and the fact that I live with chronic pain every single day that is debilitating, and greatly affects the quality of my daily life, I have decided to start documenting what's happening with that. It has become clear that over the last, honestly, 2/3 of my life, the amount of times that I have been to doctors and gotten maybe misinformation or been put on a treatment plan and told to just go about my day, while the real effects of whatever that treatment are don't show up until months later, and maybe it ends up being the wrong thing after all. I'm kind of tired of that. I'm tired of feeling like I don't have a record for myself of what's really going on. And so I am going to make this for myself and anybody who ends up seeing it for whatever reason. So, to keep it kind of basic at the beginning, so I've got a few different things that I'm dealing with. Just focusing on the physical right now, the reason that I am in daily constant pain and why I will never not be tired and able to actually put myself together to make a video is because I have what is called endometriosis. This is a disease that affects 1 in 10 people, and this is a disease that unfortunately has a lot of misinformation about it out there in the world. If you were to Google endometriosis, chances are you're going to get correct and incorrect information, some from even the same articles, if you were to start combing through everything. And that is one of the difficult things about dealing with something like this, is that there is just not enough knowledge being spread about it. I started dealing with symptoms from endo in my early teens, and I didn't actually get a diagnosis until after my sophomore year of college. So I was right on track with the average of about 7 to 10 years for a diagnosis. The majority of people who have endo are women or are assigned female at birth. And this is one of those diseases that, because it kind of has to do with a female reproductive system and the hormones that go with that, is something that's usually glossed over a lot of times in the medical field. I will go more into explaining my journey with that at a later time, but just to give you a baseline, endometriosis is where it is a disease where cells that look like the cells that make up the endometrium, which is the fancy word for the lining of the uterus, the thing that sheds and becomes menstruation. It looks like that. It is not that. It is scientifically, biologically, molecularly different from that, but it has a similar appearance, and it spreads throughout the lower abdominal cavity and can spread to almost everywhere else in the body. Most of the time people think incorrectly that it's only localized in and around the female reproductive system in the pelvis, but it has been found most often elsewhere in the thoracic cavity, on different areas of the digestive tracts and the intestines. It can also be found on lungs, and it can even cause collapsed lungs in some people. It's even been found on the brain. This is also a disease that has been found in prepubescent children, and also some cis men. So it's kind of wild. Basically, it creates unbearable levels of pain all the time. A lot of people with endo have varying degrees of their symptoms, and some things are worse than others, and that's another reason why being informed about this disease is so important. particularly for the doctors who are going to be working with patients who have it, is that no two cases are identical. And I myself, even though I was diagnosed 12 years ago, feel like I've only just begun really understanding what this disease is since the middle of last year, when I started doing some additional research and found the endometriosis community that is online. There are several different organizations and foundations that are working to get the representation in the medical field that this disease desperately needs. And I can tell you, through the conversations that I've had with doctors in the last year and through all of the research that I have done, what I was told at my diagnosis in 2008 was just straight up incorrect information. So that's fun. As of right now, in the middle of October 2020, my biggest concern is being able to get in for surgery so that I can have the endo that is present in my body excised, meaning cut out, because that was not done in the first surgery that I had 12 years ago. And the amount of pain that I have had for the last calendar year has only grown exponentially for the last about 2.5 weeks. It has gotten difficult to be able to do simple tasks. I'm having trouble standing, walking, sitting up straight. Sitting on the floor right now against this wall is actually killing me a little bit. So I probably won't keep talking for too much longer. But it has gotten to the point where my pain is so bad that my daily life, my routine quality of life is so low that I cannot function normally whatsoever. And if there was ever going to be some kind of ironic silver lining, is that my only job right now is to just be in my house, and that I don't actually have to be showing up somewhere all of the time to try to go to work and be professional, because I would not be able to do that. My ability to go to work and go to school have been affected by my pain levels from endo numerous times in the past, and right now it has become imperative that I get that surgery scheduled. So I had a meeting with my doctor earlier this week where I took in several sheets of paper that I had written down everything I wanted to say on, because doctor's visits often make me incredibly anxious, and it can be very difficult to remember all of the things that you want to say to someone, or to remember all of the symptoms and all of the pertinent details. So I took in a few sheets of legal paper and I asked her if I could just read them. And she spoke with me for about 30 minutes about everything that I've been feeling and about the new medicine that she had prescribed several months ago, not working at all and honestly making things worse. And I ended kind of in tears saying, I need surgery. Like, we have come to the point now where I need another surgery. I need to know how far this disease has spread. I need to know where it is in my body. I need to know how bad it is. Side note, if you didn't know, endo is rated on a scale similarly to cancers and some other diseases, where you are given a stage that it's in, like a stage 1, 2, 3, or 4, and obviously the increasing stage number corresponds with the level of severity. And this is new information for me, so I have no idea what stage I was in when I was first diagnosed, because I was never told. And I would like to know. I would like to know how much of this disease is in my body. I would like to know how far it has spread, if it's just in my pelvis, because I really feel like it has spread to some other areas. It definitely affects my digestive system. It definitely affects my sciatic nerves in my back. Oh my god, the back pain. I have thankfully not had any spontaneously collapsed lungs like some women have, but I need to know how far this has gone, and I need it out. I need it to be cut out. It's time. It's bring the scissors. It's time. My doctor thankfully agreed with me that we are at this moment of kind of a crossroads. I've only been seeing her since earlier this spring, so she wanted to try some different hormone therapies to try to regulate my pain before surgery, and it's been about 8 months since we first started doing that, and she agrees that we need to take these next steps. So thankfully she has referred me to a colleague of hers who does more of these surgeries and works with patients who have chronic pain. And I have a meeting with him this coming Friday, the 23rd. So I am currently compiling a list of all the things that I want to ask him. Endo specialists are incredibly hard to find. Doctors who have been trained to really know what to look for, and to know to not just look in the pelvic region, but to look kind of everywhere they can. Surgeons who are skilled to be able to remove the endo from wherever it is, which, depending on where the lesions have grown, it can be very difficult sometimes to kind of a delicate operation to remove them. And there, amazingly, is actually a specialist clinic here in Atlanta. It is the only endometriosis specialist full clinic, like that's the only thing they do, dedicated clinic in the world, and it's actually 15 minutes from my house. Which I discovered this last year and wept with relief and joy and frustration and exhaustion and all the feelings. The only problem is that they are out of network for every single insurance company. Yay, America! And it will be very expensive for me to go to them. So, because I'm a walking billboard for pain and injury, I have luckily already met my deductible for the year. So I'm sticking with my current doctors right now because I don't have to pay anything else insurance-wise, and I'm going to try and do as much as I can over the next couple months with them. That does make me a little bit nervous because I would rather just go to the specialists who only work with my disease and who I think will be able to, I'm imagining them as this kind of amazing holy grail and who can really help me. Not that my current doctors are incapable of helping me, but you know, there's a difference. There's a difference between practicing gynecological medicine and then being an actual specialist who deals with this disease in particular, which is so important because of how much misinformation there is about what this disease is and how it affects people. So I am going to bring in a list of questions for the surgeon that I'm seeing for my consult this week with my current doctor's office to see if they are up to the task of at least doing as much as they can in preparation for me to hopefully be able to afford to see the specialist at some point. So that's kind of where we are. This feels like a long time coming. If you or someone you know has experienced chronic pain, particularly if they've experienced it for years or for half or more than half of their life, you may be able to empathize with me on this point that it can be so you can feel so depleted by not being able to get the resources you need to get better. And one of the things that has been really hard has been finding medical care that is compassionate and that validates my experiences and that fully understands what this disease is and can actually help me. So I am hoping that that this current round of doctors will work out. So cross your fingers for me. It's frustrating to feel like your body doesn't work the way that you want it to, or the way that you think it's supposed to. Something that I want to talk about in more depth later is also the fact that a lot of disabilities and a lot of illnesses are invisible. It would be one thing if I were using a mobility aid such as a wheelchair or a walker or crutches. When people see me, they have that visual cue of, oh, that person likely needs this certain level of accessibility or this accommodation. But when the illness is something you can't see, the majority of the time people just look at me and assume that I am fully able-bodied and that I am able to operate at 100% all the time. And the truth of the matter is that these days I feel like I can barely get to 30. So it's time to document. It is time to advocate for myself so that I can advocate for others and to hopefully get some relief from this constant pain. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm not really making this for other people, I'm mostly making it for myself, but if other people happen to see these videos, then great. Welcome. Hi. And I hope you're taking care of yourselves. I am doing my damnedest to take care of myself.